Hi, and welcome back to the Positive Prepper. You know, when I say I'm going to put out a video tomorrow, what I mean is like a week and a half. I'm sure you guys have figured that out by now, and I can't even apologize anymore because I'm just, you know, things are super busy, and so I get on here when I can. I'm not going to make those promises anymore. I'm gonna do what I can do when I can do it. That's all I can do. So there's that. There's a lot of things that we need to be concerned about right now. And when I was preparing for this video, I don't like to just spew a lot of news and things that you guys probably already know. But I want to dig into some of this just a little bit deeper. So the first thing I want to talk about is UNESCO. So this is, I don't know exactly what it stands for, but it's basically the United Nations Education, blah, 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 right? So this is coming from the UN. And what they've done is they are getting 110,000 information volunteers. They're called digital first responders, right? And along with that, they are the UN Education Agency. That's what UNESCO basically is. They're training teachers to fight misinformation and conspiracy theories. So basically, the United Nations has become a global policing system. Okay? Now, this scares the crap out of me, and it should you, especially if you still have children in school. So let's say, for example, that my child goes to school and says, well, my mom believes that, the election in 2020 was stolen, or, we never walked on the moon, or, I mean, name it. Teachers are now being trained through the UN how to combat that, how to reframe things in children's minds. This doesn't sit well with me. Every family has their own value system. Every family believes in the things that they believe. And most of those things are based on, number one, past experience. Number two, their own research, their own knowledge, their own experiences. So for the UN to come in and be like, oh, no, you can't tell your kid that, we're going to stop that. And we're going to teach your child something that goes against that. That does not sit well with me. If somebody tells my child that Christopher Columbus discovered America, I'm going to fight them on that. Because he didn't discover America. Sorry, but he didn't. But my concern with this is now that they're going to be able to come in now and start removing children, or they're going to make life difficult. Remember that social credit scoring that I talked about in another video? So, oh, your mom believes this, or your dad believes that, and your child goes to school and they speak about some of these things, your social credit score goes down. Okay? We already know that patriots are targets. Which brings me to the next point, which is Biden's speech. The infamous Hitlerish speech. Everything about that speech was evil. Now, I don't blame and don't hate me for this, but I don't blame Biden for this. He has no clue what he's doing. He's a puppet. He is cognitively not aware enough to know what he's doing and saying. We all know that there's somebody else behind him going, oh, you need to say this, right? You need to go sit there. You know, I am not sure where on the teleprompter it said shake hands with air, but who knows. But my point is that we, and I'm not going to say we as in you guys, because I know that a lot of you come from different walks of life. You have different values. Some of you might not even be patriots or conservatives, and I welcome everyone. But conservatives and patriots, Christians, are being targeted bigly. And you put that right, that multi-layer thing, you pull that lens back, right? That going along with what UNESCO is doing, they are trying to get every single person to spew the narrative so that there's no dissent. It sounds like a lot like North Korea to me. It sounds a lot like China to me. Don't have a different opinion, don't have a different thought, right? Because you will be the target. Biden's speech was inflammatory and, in my mind, a call for war. Now, there was a lot of arguing or discussion, really animated discussion, if you will, about conservatives or patriots, Christians, and whether or not we should be calling for violence at any point. I'm really on the fence on that. I'm not saying in this video to go out and start World War III. That's not what I'm saying at all. But what I'm saying is, if we are already at war, the battle lines have been drawn for a long time, since probably 2016 is when those battle lines really became bold, right? At what point do we say enough is enough? I'm asking the question, at what point do we say enough is enough? They are trying to start a civil war. And they want us to throw the first punch. But what we have to understand is those first punches have already been thrown. Okay? So, what is it going to take? I've talked about this before, about our line in the sand. And now you add this to the United Nations becoming this global police team on misinformation and conspiracy theories. And they are working with the education agency, which is a global thing. They are outright saying that if you are not teaching your child what we want you to teach your child, there will be consequences. And Biden basically said, if you don't vote and think the way that we vote and think, there will be consequences. So at what point will there be consequences for them and what they're doing? I'm just throwing this out there for you to think about. Okay? If there's ever a time for you to solidify your mag group, it is right now. I'm not convinced that there's even going to be a November election. I'm not convinced. The rhetoric, the language, the desperation that's coming out right now tells me that at some point, when they realize that this is only making conservatives and patriots stronger, they are going to pull out all the stops to make sure that in November it's not a national red wave. I should say global red wave. But I want to remind you that in the Bible, which you all know is the basis for a lot of the ways that I think and feel and my values, even God led people to war. Even people that we might think, well, you know, why would God have them go in and conquer this city? You know, especially the Israelites. Well, God has a plan. And no, there hasn't been any shots fired, so to speak. But the war is already on. And it's going to keep growing and growing and growing. And I believe at some point before November, I think I said maybe in my last video, September, October are going to be really, it's going to be really important that we watch what happens in September and October. They are desperate, and they are going to do whatever it takes to make sure that they hold on to power. Whether it's through cheating, through war, through riots, chaos, social credit scores, fear-mongering, you control the food, you control the world, whatever that takes. And I want to just kind of throw another layer on there too, is that I've been hearing other people talk about how we are in the 8th what's that called, of extermination. I can't think of what that's called. Where we are at the point now where the 2030 agenda is ramping up. And we want to get rid of, a certain percentage of the global population. Well, what better way to do that than to withhold food, create all of these reasons for shutting everything down. Gas prices are going down. It looks fantastic. Didn't get as high as I thought they would. That's good, right? We hope for the best, prepare for the worst. But this ain't over yet. Sorry, I'm from Wisconsin. This isn't over yet. Okay? You wait. They're only doing that. They're lowering those prices because of the midterms. They're desperate to do that. So I want to hear what your thoughts are about, would we actually be throwing that first punch, or would we be finally defending our Constitution, our values, our nation, our country? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. That would be, I would really like to hear that in the comment section below. The last thing that I want to bring up in this video, and believe me, there's so much more. I know that now they're looking for some more money they want to send to Ukraine for virus protection and natural disaster rebuilding, something or other. I don't get it. I really don't get it. I don't understand getting rid of student debt instead of getting rid of people's medical debts, which is why a lot of people are homeless. And it just, none of it makes sense to me. But I want to get into a little bit of the prepping stuff. And I have always been aware of the 6 pillars of prepping, okay, which is your food, water, shelter, security, communications, and health. But something that I was kind of familiar with, but it was pinball preparedness. If you have not watched his videos, go watch his videos. He does a great job at explaining a lot of this stuff. But he brought up SWOT, SWOT. And this is what I want you guys to think about when it comes to your own prepping. Okay? So SWOT is an acronym for your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. Okay? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. SWOT. And what you need to do is take that and you need to put that up against those 6 pillars of prepping. So food, for example, where are your strengths with food? Where are your weaknesses with food? What are your opportunities for food? And what are your threats for food? So for example, our strength is that we have a lot of canned food, freeze-dried foods, just we have a lot of food in general, right? Our weakness is that we don't have a lot of canned meat. So we know that that's something that we have to build up. What are the opportunities? Well, you always have an opportunity to build that canned meat up. You know, if you get coupons, buy 2 for 1, or shop around. Even if you have to drive a little bit farther to try to find the best deals. But also being able to go out and hunt and can venison or smoke your meats, or, you know, those type of things. Those are opportunities. And then looking at threats, if you have all of your food in one location and you aren't able to spread it out, your entire food stockpile can be taken away. So that's a threat. So you want to look at these for your food, your water, your shelter, security, communications, and your health. Okay? And figure out where you are at. And I was talking to my cousin tonight, and we were talking about, you know, mag groups and things like that. And I just if I had it my way, anybody right now at this point that does not have a mag group, y'all can just move in with me. She's sitting here laughing at the moment. I really, it, you know, we'll have to figure out how to winterize you, because Wisconsin winters can get pretty harsh. But I know that that's not realistic. But you have to. Time is so short right now, guys. I'm not even playing. You have to figure out what you are going to do. And if you are struggling with that, I want you to email me, positiveprepper@gmail.com. If you are struggling with this, if you are really having an issue and you feel like time is running out and you don't know what you're going to do, I want you to email me. Okay? If you're not comfortable putting it in the thread, in the chat thread. Okay? I am at the point, and well, we have been for a while, of pulling our mag in, and it's getting closer and closer to that point. And if you do not have that mag, if you don't have a supportive network of people, if you don't know how to go fish and hunt, maybe you're disabled, maybe you're on a really tight income, maybe you're not able to do a lot of the prepping, maybe you're in an apartment in a big city, whatever your situation is, God knows it, right? God is going to lead you to where you need to be when it's time. And if I could take y'all in today, I would. And maybe sometime down the road, that's what God wants me to do. But you got to start making these connections. If you know people that can do the hunting and fishing, what have you got to trade in for that? So let's say that they go get 10 squirrels. Okay, again, I'm from northern Wisconsin. We eat squirrel and we like it. But let's say that you know somebody that hunts and they go get you some venison or some rabbit, turkey, whatever, fish. Do you have something to trade for that? Start making those relationships. Your car breaks down. We're in the middle of an SHTF, providing cars are still even able to run if it's not an EMP. Do you know somebody that can fix your car? Okay. Do you know farmers where you can get eggs and milk and chicken and pork? Okay. Do you know somebody that gardens where you can get your vegetables? Do you know wild areas that might have your blackberries and your wild strawberries, raspberries? Do you know somebody that has a lake, that lives on a lake or on a clean stream where you could get water if you needed it? These are all things that you need to be thinking about right now because time is running out, folks. You've got to see that. You've got to see how close we are. And use that SWOT acronym: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Figure out where you are and where you need to build that and how can you do that in a short amount of time. Okay? But also remember that God is watching over you. God knows where you are. God will lead you when it's time. So keep the faith. Don't just build things up physically and mentally and emotionally, but spiritually as well. I hope that you guys all stay safe, stay aware, and God bless.